Testing 1, 2, check 1, 2. Let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. Just going to get these set up here. Check 1, 2, check. All right, perfect. So we'll get started here. Just make sure you can see me and hear my guitar, hear my voice okay, and we'll go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be doing, for Monday Guitar Motivation, is we're going to be talking about a lick, an arpeggio. I got a lot of requests to keep doing some more arpeggio style things. So let me know if you can hear me okay, see me okay, and we'll get going here. Awesome, perfect, thank you. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to look at creating an arpeggio, just a simple triad. Hey, Shar, we're just going to create a simple triad here, and we're going to use that for our demonstration. Okay, let me move this over just a little bit here. There we go. Hey, John. Hey, Jethro, Santosh, Gerald, Pam, Joe, Arno from Austria. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thank you, John. I appreciate you letting me know. Hey, Rena. Hey, Bilal, I think you say. Rayleigh. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to look at a simple arpeggio idea that you can use in your solos. I'm going to try and give you some licks each week as well, so I can give you a bunch of different things to try and use in your playing. So what we're going to look at today is just taking a D major arpeggio and then trying to figure out how to get creative with that to create maybe a melodic idea in a solo or a song that you might be writing or something like that. So if we think about a D major chord, what we're playing is D, F sharp, and A. Those are the notes. And it's okay if you don't know that. Yes, you are in Tamolchigawa. Okay? Hey, Prayag. Blasphemous, damn it. Hey, good to see you. Sanho. Some of these names are tough for me to pronounce, so I apologize if I'm butchering the name that you have here. So, all right, so thank you so much. Thank you, Norbert. So what we're going to do here is let's just think about this D chord. We have a D, F sharp, and A. And again, if you don't know your theory and you don't know those notes, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you this anyway. So if we went up here, for instance, to the second string, and we went all the way up to D. Okay, so what I'm doing is, for those of you that maybe don't know all your notes and that sort of thing, I'm taking the D major chord, and I'm simply visually moving it up one octave higher. So instead of playing on the second and third frets, I'm going all the way up to the 14th and 15th frets. Hey, William, Liam, Henry, Kevin, Joseph, Keith, Simon, James. So just visualize that going from the second and third frets one octave higher to the 14th and 15th frets. So that's where we're going to be for starters. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the 15th fret with my middle finger. That note right there is D. And then I'm going to go to the first string on the 14th fret, and that note is F sharp. And then I'm going to go to the 17th fret of the first string, and that note is A, D, F sharp, and A. So what we're doing is we're taking those notes and we're creating an arpeggio out of those notes, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those same three notes and I'm going to move them into some other octaves, and then we're going to connect this whole thing together. And then I'll show you some different things that you can do with it. Hey, Niradri, Graham, Javi. So let's move down to the 12th fret of the 4th string. This note is also D. And I'm going to play middle finger on D, first finger on the 3rd string, 11th fret, that's F sharp, and then A. And now I'm playing one octave lower. So if you look at them, they look the same in terms of the fingering that I'm using. And they sound the same, except one is one octave lower. Hey, Scott, good to see you here, buddy. All right, Paul is here, Ravi is here. Shreddy Van Halen is here. Glad you're here. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a 3rd octave, a lower octave, by going to the 6th string, the 10th fret. And we're going to do that same shape again, starting with our middle finger on D. We've got D, F sharp, and A. Hey, Ravi. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create some sequences or ideas to be able to use this in your playing by connecting them all together. Now, as we've been talking about in a number of the other Monday guitar motivation things that I've been doing, the most important thing is, obviously there's theory and, you know, playing the right notes and all that sort of thing. But once we move away from all that, the next most important thing is that it's comfortable for your fingers. It's comfortable for you to move around the fretboard. Hey, Sean. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Christy. Hey, Niladri. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these three ideas here, and if you have your guitar with, otherwise you can watch this later on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a descension where I'm going from 17 to 14 to 15. And you can pick it any way you want. My mom is here. Hello, Barb. Hello, Mother. And then I'm going to move down to the next one. And then the next one. You see that? So I have... But playing it like that, again, doesn't make it comfortable in terms of connection, in terms of our fingers. Because we have to jump over each other as we go through these octaves. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in some other ideas, namely some slides, and then we'll start adding in some other notes, okay? Hey, Teresa. Hey, Thomas. Hey, Jamie. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to play these notes right here, and instead of shifting over into this position like this, with my pinky ready to go, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is simply drop down to my first finger right there. Now again, I'm visualizing 12, 11, and 14, right? So as I play, I'm playing that 14. I'm going to slide down to the 11, which sets me up for the 12 afterwards. And all of a sudden, again, it's going to sound a little more interesting because there's a slide in there instead of just playing all the notes, which might be a good thing, right? Now we've got to connect to that last octave. Again, we wouldn't have to. We could stop there and we could be fine. Why are there two streams? Well, it depends on where you're at. If you're on the Guitar Zoom YouTube channel, you'd see the stream. If you're on the Steve Stine channel, you'd see the stream. Which is clipping, Cody? Is it my vocal or is it my guitar that's clipping? I'll turn down the vocal just a little bit. Okay, perfect. Awesome, thank you. So we're going just like that. Now, when we get there, what we're going to do is we're just going to cross over onto the 12th fret up here. Okay, the vocal, thank you very much. Let me know if this is a little better, okay? Thank you. So as we move in, I'm going to cross over to this note right here. And then what I'm going to do is slide down to the 9, and then use my ring finger for the 10th fret. Okay. I can lower the volume of that a little bit as well. There we go. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Cody. Just like that, okay? So you might do something where you're using that. No, it's not a bad cable. I just need to adjust the levels. I constantly have to adjust my levels for different filming things that I'm doing and recording and stuff like that. So I appreciate your help, okay? Just like that, all right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in some other notes. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to add in a note that's outside that arpeggio. So I'm going to play 17, 15, 14. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. And I have that right there. So now I have... Now that would mean I'd have to slide twice as I move down. Okay, hey Andy, hey Julie, AC, perfect. So if that makes sense, what you can do then is you've got this new note that's not just part of the arpeggio, it's actually part of the larger scale. Right there. And you could play this all sorts of different ways. You might go... Right? Or add a little rhythm to it. And again, remember, you don't have to use the whole thing. You don't have to use all the octaves, nothing like that. You just have to figure out what works for you. But the first thing is understanding where it's coming from. It's a D major arpeggio. The second thing is understanding how it visually connects across the fretboard using these 3 octaves. Hey, Volzon. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, hopefully it sounds better now. Let me know. Okay, and then what we do is we start adding in human interaction with those movements because we have to make it comfortable for ourselves when we play. If I go, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. That's perfectly fine. But for me, it's not really melodic, and I'd much rather play something that is a bit more melodic in nature. But if I add that note in between, all of a sudden it becomes really interesting, right? Hey, Bruce. Hey, Sergio. Hey, Victor. Hey, Kenneth. Okay, now understand that if you're doing this in D major, this will also work in the relative minor, which is B minor. Okay? Now again, if you don't know anything about theory, it's okay. But just understanding that if you're doing this in D major, if you know anything about your theory, we're moving up to the 6th degree, right? So D major, we go up to B minor, which is the 6th degree. That's the relative minor. If we play D major over B minor, it's going to sound just fine. Now, the question that people often ask is, okay, so if that works, what do we do if we want to play over D minor? Okay, not D major, but D minor. Well, we could take the same idea, but we would flat what we call the 3rd, which in this case, if I go to these notes, it'd be the middle note. And now all of a sudden it's going to sound more minor. And I'd have to do that in all of these. Now that's going to screw up the comfortability a little bit. See, like right here, if we slide down, we might have to go to the pinky, unfortunately, but maybe we have to do that, right? Now we still have that note in between that we can use. If we want to do that. But here's another little trick that you can do if we think about how we did. Now, I'm not trying to confuse you. Yes, Pooh Ninja says D minor, the saddest of all keys, which is true. Little spinal tap there. So if we could play in D major, which means we're also playing in B minor, which is the relative minor, right? Doing that same thing. That means we could play in F major, which its relative minor is D minor. Okay? So that means if we wanted to play in D minor, we could do what I just did. We could lower that 3rd and do this. Or we could just go to F major and execute the same thing. So let's move that up here. Okay? So now I could do that same idea up here over the D minor. And do that right there. And of course, we can still add in that note, and it's going to work just fine. So that's something for you to work on this week. See if maybe you can add that into your playing somehow. And again, remember, you don't need the whole sequence. You could just use the top part, or just maybe the first 2 parts, or whatever it is that you'd like to do, and it works just fine, okay? So anyway, I'm not going to take too much of your time. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully you have a great week. We have Thanksgiving this week, so if you're in the U.S., happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and take care through all the crazy times we're going through, and stay positive, all right? So take